possible to get into one of ours in California, so we created the Jumpstart Video Series, a distance learning tool for your entire staff. You're about to view one in a series of videotape presentations that are designed to assist you in transitioning your healthcare practice into the 21st century. The landscape is changing with new research showing the positive effects of supplementation and changes in diet that can dramatically alter the state of a person's health. The consuming public is well aware of these facts and is spending billions in alternative products and services. Where are you in this market? Are you able to answer the questions your patients ask? Do you feel comfortable with counseling your patients on natural products? Is your business thriving or just surviving, or worse? As a healthcare practitioner, you owe it to yourself and your patients to have the information in these tapes. The principals of the JAG Group have been providing solutions to healthcare practitioners' problems for over 25 years. We understand your business and the challenges you face. The company has structured its technology and support programs to assist you efficiently as you learn. Continuing education programs based on the internet and CD-ROM assist not only you, but also your staff. Don't forget about them. They are the key conduits to your patients. This tape series has been designed to provide efficient information, strategies and techniques that will make an immediate and positive impact to your practice. Topics to be covered in this continuing series include nutrition basics and counseling suggestions, building a healthy immune system, the benefits of intestinal health and detoxification, marketing your practice, merchandising and store design, counseling patients, implementing drug nutrient depletion, addressing herb-drug interactions, specialty programs such as weight loss, aromatherapy, homeopathy, herbs, etc. We hope you will find the presentation informative and helpful. The JAG Group staff is here to help. We want to be your single source for all education relating to your natural practice. Let us know how we can assist you in growing your practice. We've got the solution. Welcome to Overfed yet Undernourished, the ABCs of nutrition. Our presenter in this program is Deborah Arneson. Deborah has a bachelor's degree in food science and biochemistry and a master's degree in counseling psychology. Deborah is a licensed clinical nutritionist in private practice in Chicago. She also regularly lectures for the JAG Group in its Jumpstart seminar series. Deborah has designed wellness programs for major corporations and is an accredited member of the American Preventive Medical Association. She hosts a cable TV show in the Chicagoland area and has created Heart Smart Kids, an educational series for children. We know that you'll find her presentations informative and useful in all areas of your practice. Now sit back and get ready for some extremely valuable information, and be sure to share this with all the members of your staff. Good health.
Hello, I'm Deborah Arneson, licensed clinical nutritionist, and today I'd like to welcome you to our continuing educational health series. There are two principal methods of treating imbalances and disease. One is combative, the other is preventive. The trend of modern medical research and practice has been almost entirely along combative lines. Fortunately for all of us, there are growing numbers of individual, progressive, and integrated groups who are moving towards focusing on intervention and preventive-based educational protocols. The slogan of orthodox medical science could be seen as kill the germ, cure the disease, and bury the mistakes. This focus on pathology rather than wellness too often allows the acute or chronic diseases to develop fully before there is any attempt at all to subdue them, usually by drugs or surgery. This precipitates toxicity on all three levels of one's health: our mind, our body, and our spirit. The preventive method does not wait until the diseases have fully developed and gained ascendancy in the body, but instead concentrates its best endeavors on preventing, by hygienic living and by natural methods of treatment, the development of all diseases. By optimizing one's health at any age, resistance to infection and disease can be enhanced and life can be lived to one's fullest potential. Health is more than just the absence of disease. Positive state of well-being shows us that we're living well. Coping with pressures and escaping stressors is also another sign that we have no disease manifesting in our systems. An alert and active mind and resisting infections, looking and feeling healthy, optimal and consistent energy, all of these are signs that we are living a fully vital life. If one can maintain one's health, overcome the ravages of pollution, cope with the fast pace of our lives, deal with stress efficiently, and prevent and manage diseases once they do onset, we know that we have correct nutrition in place. The science of nutrition has come a long way in the last 100 years. The link between food nutrient deficiency and diseases has gone beyond the notion of prevention, as well as the treatment of current diseases. Research is now uncovering the link between diet, behavior, intelligence, as well as mental health. Research shows us that there is a strong relationship between the dietary intake of nutrients and the development, progression, as well as the omission of major disease states. The link between infectious diseases, heart and bone diseases, and nutrition has been well established. Further research has uncovered the impact of nutrition on immunity, the prevention of cancers and other degenerative diseases, and the so-called diseases of our civilization. The role of diet in disease begs for the redefinition of a diet that provides optimal and not just adequate levels of nutrients. In understanding the role of diet in disease, it must be understood that nutritional therapy does not offer magic pills or potions to the cure of specific ailments. The need for nutrients are many. We have two groups of nutrients that we will be focusing on today. The first are the macronutrients, which are our proteins, our carbohydrates, and our fat sources, and as well as our micronutrients, the vitamins, minerals, and other essential antioxidants and phytochemicals. First of all, let's talk about the role of water. This is one of the most forsaken and forgotten nutrients known to man, especially in our culture. Our bodies are composed of 76% water. That means if I took all of the water out of your body and put you into a little shoebox, you would fit perfectly. Your body consists of enormous amounts of fluid, and this is a water source. The function of water is many and varied. We need it for the absorption and digestion of nutrients, the transportation of all your vitamins and minerals from food sources and supplemental sources, and we need it for all of our major detoxification pathways, our liver, our kidneys, our skin, and most importantly, our GI tract. Let's also talk about proteins. Proteins are what I refer to as the vital link. They bring vitality to your cells. We need our protein sources for growth, maintenance, and repair of all your cells and tissues in the body. One thing to remember is that many people today have become very protein deficient with the onset of, in the last 2 decades, don't eat fats, don't eat red meat, don't eat eggs. People have turned more and more to pastas, breads, and bagels and coffee as a major source of nutrients. So it's very important to realize that without enough adequate proteins in one's system, we will be at a deficit and unable to adequately heal ourselves on a daily basis. We have what we classify as the good, the potentially bad, and the truly ugly proteins. So first, let us talk about the good protein sources. These are unsaturated, known to increase our high-density lipoprotein levels. Our HDLs are the good blood fats that circulate in the bloodstream, and they compete against the bad cholesterol. We have, first of all, our fish, which are an excellent source of high-density level proteins. These would be cold water fish like cod and salmon and shark and halibut, herring and sardines. We also have wild gamey meats. These wild gamey meats, like our duck and our pheasant and our buffalo, are free range, so they exercise more. Hence, they have a higher percentage of HDLs and a lower percentage of cholesterol. We can also use tofu as an alternative unsaturated fatty acid protein source. The potentially bad would be those that are saturated, and they're well known to increase our serum cholesterol levels, such as beef, chicken and turkey. Even if it is chicken and turkey with no skin and the white meat, it is still primarily a saturated fatty acid source. Our pork products, our dairy products, and our shellfish. Our shellfish, however, are not high in saturated fat, they're simply high in cholesterol. Now let's talk about the truly ugly sources of highly saturated, higher in chemicals, nitrates, and additives proteins. These would be the things we love to eat at the baseball game: hot dogs, sausage, salami, processed luncheon meats. Just for your edification and clarification, those meats that we eat in the deli that are rolled and pressed and have no fat are fake. They are not at all together a real protein. When it comes off the bone, it's a real protein. We also have our processed dyed cheeses, which are primarily a fat source. And then, of course, we have the very rancid, not good for your liver, deep fried meats like our chicken nuggets, etc. These are what we call the truly uglies, and these create rampant oxidation in the cells. We have carbohydrates as well. Let us talk about these. These are what I refer to as the energy link in the body. Now, we all know that if we have too much energy on too much of a consistent basis, we have what? Excess fat storage. But when it comes to carbohydrates, we will divide these into 4 classifications: the muscle building, the okay in moderation, the doughboy, and the super doughboy. The glycemic index of carbohydrates needs to be discussed first. There is a glycemic index, which is a range or a scale that gives us a range of 10 to 100+% in the sugar range. So if you look at different foods, they either elicit a greater insulin response or a lower insulin response once you consume them. The amount of sugar and or fiber present in that food will depend on where it lands in the glycemic index range. So the lower glycemic carbohydrates would be greens and cauliflowers and broccolis and zucchinis. These are 10 to 20% on the glycemic index, so they're very low and very stabilizing as far as burning fat, building muscle, and regulating your glycemic index. Apples, grapes, peaches, pears, apricots, things like that are about 20 to 30% on the glycemic index. And then the higher carbohydrates in the moderate category would be our squashes, our whole grain rices, our potatoes, our corns, and our peas, and our legumes. These are 45 to 60% on the glycemic index. They do contain fiber, but they also have a little bit more of the natural occurring sugars. Then the high glycemic carbohydrates would be our breads and our bagels and our pasta and our bananas and our carrots, believe it or not. These are 80 to 90% on the glycemic index. They're very high. So for those of you consuming a cup of coffee and a banana and a bagel for breakfast, you're not doing your body any favors. Your glycemic index will convert very rapidly into a sugar surge. Insulin jumps out into the bloodstream in an effort to pull that down into our muscles and give your brain some glucose. Next thing you know, you're roller coaster riding up, boom, you're crashing down, need another cup of coffee. We also have extremely high foods, which would be our low-fat snacks and our sugary treats and desserts and sweets, and these are 100% on the glycemic index. These elicit a huge sugar response, so you're going to have this roller coaster ride exemplified every time you consume these foods. And then beyond the 100%, these foods, what we would call food stuffs, would be our alcohol and our coffee and our regular and diet sodas. These, again, are really hazardous to our health if they're consumed on a steady basis. So the glycemic index of carbohydrates is important to understand. The lower they are, these foods, on the glycemic index, the greater amount of fiber, the more life these foods have in them, the less processed they are, and the more they stabilize insulin, which is the matriarch of all hormones. Insulin is the hormone that helps to regulate every other hormone in the body. The muscle-building carbohydrates are high in nutrients, vitamins, and minerals. These are foods that are very much eaten as they are grown. They're lower on the glycemic index. These would be our vegetables and our fruits, our legumes and our beans, our starchy veggies such as corn and peas, and whole grains including brown rices and wild rices. Also, sweet regular potatoes. So if you like to eat foods that are moderate and have a lot of fiber, these would be wonderful and okay in moderation. They should not be abused. The okay carbohydrates, which are less refined and less filling, would be our matzahs and our pitas and our tortillas and our kavli crackers and hand-pop popcorn. Our doughboy carbohydrates are most of our breads, which are very low in fiber and high in maltose, which is a sugar. These foods will provide your body with very low amounts of fiber. So if a slice of bread or a half a cup of cereal doesn't offer you at least 3 to 4 grams of fiber, it's considered a doughboy food. Our pasta foods are also doughboy carbohydrates, as well as most of the cereals that we feed our kids and ourselves. Also very low in fiber, high in sugar. Bagels and muffins are considered doughboy carbohydrates as well. The super doughboy carbohydrates would be those foods that convert readily to fat. They also offer our bodies many additives, lots of chemicals, and they're very, very high on the glycemic index. These would be our snack products like our corn chips and our wheat products and pretzels and cookies and microwave popcorns, as well as alcohol, coffee, and all types of soda pop. Let's talk about fats. These are what I call the missing link in the American diet. Fats are needed for so many different biological functions, but primarily for hormonal balance and production. They also help to armor all of our cell membranes. That helps us to keep out the bad guys, the oxidized free radicals, which we'll talk about in a bit, and it lets in the good guys, which are vitamins, minerals, nutrients, and antioxidants. Fat is also the body's favorite fuel source. Without fat, you cannot burn fat and build muscle. We have, again, what we call the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good are unsaturated. They're found primarily in plants, fish, seeds, and nuts, and the oils from those foods. So avocados and olives are an excellent source of the unsaturated fatty acids, raw seeds, raw nuts, and the cold-pressed oils from those foods. Now, cold-pressed oils are something that I'm going to speak about for a brief moment. Cold-pressed oils should be first extraction oils, meaning that they've pressed this cedar nut one time, and they use a cold processing in the extraction process, which preserves all of the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients in the oil. Olives are also an excellent source of unsaturated fatty acids, and then our cold water fish, which we spoke about earlier, which are primarily a protein source and high in essential fatty acids. We also have the bad, which are saturated, and they're found primarily in animal foods once again. These would be dairy products like our cheeses and our butters, our beef products, and there are gradients of beef. We have low saturated fatty acid, moderate and high, chicken and turkey, pork, and of course our bacon and sausage, which is the most saturated. When it comes to the ugly, the hydrogenated and partially hydrogenated fats, this is where we find most of our foods on the shelves in our grocery stores today. These are in most of our processed packaged long shelf life items, and they would be margarine and butter substitutes. Most of our cookies and crackers and chips, our snacks, our dressings, our breads, our muffins, our peanut butters, our microwave popcorns, and of course our fried foods, which are extraordinarily hydrogenated and fried. Now we're going to talk about the role of micronutrients in the body. Micronutrients are vital ingredients to a healthy body and to create a healthy diet. The human body cannot function optimally if they are missing from the diet. Nutritionists believe we are deficit in micronutrients across the United States today, and this is affecting our health and causing many of the diseases of civilization. The average modern diet is very, very high in fat, sugar, salt, additives, and chemicals. Do you realize that the human body processes our own body weight in sugar every year in this country, and we process over 20 pounds of salt every year and about 40 pounds of additives and chemicals? The average modern diet in America is also very low in fiber, vitamins, minerals, other essential nutrients, and pure water sources. The consequences of having a diet that embraces this type of lifestyle is high blood pressure, heart disease, arthritis, strokes, and cancers. The functions of micronutrients are many. First of all, remember, vitamins and minerals do not contain calories or provide energy as food does, but they do stimulate the metabolic process, they accelerate biological functions, they help to promote growth and maintenance of healthy immune function, they also enable reproduction to take place and promote longevity in the body, and they're mostly important for healthy bones and teeth. How much is enough? Well, we all need vitamins and minerals for good health. Individual requirements vary with age, sex, lifestyle, and occupation. There has been no standard formula to determine individual requirements. Let's talk about the RDAs first. The RDAs are levels that were calculated by observing statistically the average food intake of healthy Americans back in the 30s and calculating the vitamin and mineral content of the foods that they chose. These tables do not take into account specific and individual needs caused by the different stages in one's life, or indeed specific conditions like stress, allergies, or environmental pollution, medication abuse, and substandard dietary choices. The correct amounts will vary from person to person. For instance, a pregnant woman has higher dietary needs of certain nutrients such as calcium. Adolescents require greater quantities of some nutrients to ensure growth and development, and the elderly, we know, need extra nutrients to counteract the effects of aging. The busy executive may need more of certain nutrients to offset the effects of stress, such as the B vitamins. So, where do we find the nutrients? Well, it's commonly believed that we can get all the vitamins and minerals we need if we eat a well-balanced diet. This is simply not true. What is a balanced diet? And is it actually easy and practical to follow? I've seen very few people who embrace a balanced diet. How many people do you know skip breakfast as they rush to work? How often do they grab coffee, a banana, pizza, or other low-nutrient, vitamin-robbing fast foods as a matter of convenience on a daily basis? Too many. The myth of a well-balanced diet. So let us talk about vitamins first of all. A vitamin is a delicate, unstable nutrient source that can easily be destroyed during its path from the farm to the factory to the supermarket. The little that is left in that vitamin or that mineral is then lost in its journey from the freezer to the microwave to the table. Modern farming techniques mean that not only is our food grown in chemicals, but also laden with pesticides. We then store the food at home and often use cooking methods which leach out any remaining vitamins or minerals. Plus, these chemicals leach the vitamins and minerals out of the food or compete with them as well. So what we have is we get all the micronutrients, proteins, fats, and carbohydrates from foods that we buy in our supermarkets. However, the typical Western diet is lacking in sufficient quantities of micronutrients, vitamins, as well as minerals. Food alone is no longer enough. In an ideal world, our food should supply us with the nutrients we require. Food alone is not sufficient for a majority of the people in the United States. However, nutrient-packed the original product may be, depleted soils, refining, storing, processing, and freezing all deplete essential vitamins and minerals. Why are vitamin and mineral supplements necessary? Well, each individual has his or her own nutritional requirements. Stress, illness, pollution, and the extra demands of young children, pregnant and breastfeeding mothers will increase one's needs. A wholesome diet plus supplementation is the approach that will ensure that we get the correct amount of nutrients required for optimum health. Dr. Willard A. Krell, who is the editor-in-chief of the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, quoted this: "Poor food choices, decreased caloric intakes, and personal environmental lifestyle factors present a situation where multivitamin supplementation is both a rational and beneficial choice. Supplementation provides a practical and economic means of ensuring adequate nutrient intakes for high-risk groups such as dieters, the elderly, heavy drinkers, chronic drug users, and the immunocompromised." So why do we need to increase our vitamin coverage? Well, to avoid the onset of many diseases such as cancer, premature cellular aging, heart disease, stroke, and other varied chronic health problems such as chronic fatigue, which is so predominant in our country today, hypothyroid, which goes hand in hand with hypoadrenal, and diabetes, which is on the rise. We also need additional vitamin coverage to enhance our immunity, and because so many of us have inadequate dietary intakes. Many people are experiencing decreased digestion in this day and age because we are eating a primary source of dead foods for our dietary choices, and we are all living in a toxic environment. Many people are experiencing more stress with limited rest and sleep, and there are those who have specific therapeutic purposes, such as medication abuse. So, how do we support the immune system? Well, we support the endocrine system. We increase the white blood cell production, we increase healthy bone marrow production, and we increase the ability for the body to make its own jumping genes. The major players of the endocrine system are the adrenals, first of all. The adrenal glands produce over 360 known steroids, hormones, and corticoid steroids on a daily basis. They also help to activate and help regulate every other component in the endocrine system. The thymus gland is the creator of all the T cells in the body, major players and fighters. The parathyroid and the thyroid gland help to regulate energy and body temperature. The pituitary and the hypothalamus regulate energy production as well as depression and happiness and moods, and also helps to produce prolactin. The pancreas produces and regulates insulin, which again is the matriarch of all hormones. So, how do we support the endocrine system? What nutrients are necessary? First of all, essential fatty acids, the omega-3, 6, and 9 fatty acids. The omega-3s come primarily or found primarily in walnut, flaxseed, and cod liver oil. The omega-6s would be found in primrose, black currant oil, both of which are very high in GLA, which increases immune function in cells and are also very necessary for females. The omega-9s would be found in safflower, sunflower, and rice bran oils. You also need to incorporate the B complexes, especially vitamin B6, which is found primarily in whole grains and rices and legumes and raw seeds and nuts. Don't forget vitamin C, along with zinc, is an activator for immunity. We also need to increase your white blood cell production. The white blood cells are protein-based antibodies that kill off invasive cells. Certain nutrients help to increase the ability for the white blood cells to do this. They would be protein-based foods, so amino acid-containing foods, our fish, our animal meats, our soy, our essential fatty acids, as well as B6, B12, and folic acid. We also need to create healthy bone marrow production, and the bone marrow produces the B lymphocytes. The B lymphocytes are the engineers that create the blueprint of the bad guys for future recognition and destruction of invasive cells when they come into the system. The necessary nutrients to create healthy bone marrow are, again, our essential fatty acids, our B vitamins, vitamin C, and protein-based foods. We also need to increase our jumping genes. What are jumping genes? Well, these are the genes that cause the shuffling of chemical structures found in various proteins in the body, thereby linking with an astounding number of different combinations of genes that enhance the recognition of future invaders. The necessary nutrients to get our jumping genes jumping would be essential fatty acids, vitamin C, vitamin E, and again, protein-based foods. Okay, what I would like to do now is share with you a number of case studies to solidify the concepts of protein malnourishment, essential fatty acid deficiency, and carbohydrate intolerance. We'll start with proteins. I had a woman by the name of Dorothy who came in, and she decided to see a nutritionist because her hair was falling out. And she's about 66 years old. She's the cutest little thing, came in clutching her little purse and brought in her hair tissue test and her blood test. And we took a look at all this, and I said, I'd like to see what you do on a daily basis as far as dietary intake goes. And she said, oh, dearie, I'm not here to talk about my diet. What I'm here to talk about is my hair loss. How do I stop it? I said, well, just humor me. Let's see what you're eating. It turns out this woman who weighed about 110 pounds was consuming maybe 4 to 6 grams of protein every day in the form of maybe a little piece of chicken or some turkey in her soup. She was eating primarily peanut butter and like a teaspoon on a slice of bread every day for lunch. Her total caloric intake was extraordinarily low. So the first thing we look at is calories. Does this individual get enough fuel for their body size and their physical activity? Are they getting enough grams of protein on a daily basis? And again, are they getting the nutrients if they're on a low-calorie diet? And obviously the answer would be no. So with Dorothy, I changed her diet around, and within 3 months her hair completely stopped falling out. Her energy, which was extraordinarily low, started to rebound. Her headaches went completely away, and her constipation problems went away as well. So the first thing to do when you look at a patient's problem is to look at the overview again, look at their lifestyle, the type of stressors they have, and again, if they're taking medications and whether or not they're consuming enough calories. And when they do consume calories, where are their calories coming from? Are they low, in nutrient calories like dead processed foods, or are they live foods? Dorothy happened to eat well, but she did not eat enough. So as soon as we got her calories up, her body started to heal. Within 3 months' time, her skin improved, the texture of her skin improved, her energy improved, and her hair again began to grow back. Case study number 2. A young man by the name of Gary came in to see me. He was 26 years old, weighed approximately 380 pounds, was trying to lose weight. He was a manager of a Taco Bell, and he was drinking an average of 4 to 6 gallons a day of Diet Coke. I had never met anyone in all of my years in practice, anyone who drank or consumed that amount of diet soda with that number of chemicals in his body. So the first thing we did, I did not change his diet, but I decided to wean him down off of his Diet Coke. He did not take my advice. He decided to go cold turkey and go completely off his Diet Coke. The first week when he came back in to see me, he ended up losing over 22 pounds just from taking Diet Coke out of his diet. Now, this led me to believe that there were other issues at hand here. So we had done a blood test on him, saw that he was extraordinarily hyperglycemic, which is the next step or next phase into diabetes, and started deducing that because of the chemicals, perhaps in the caffeine, which is very strenuous on the adrenal glands, it was time to look at his mineral status. So we started supplementing him with the minerals that really support pancreatic output of insulin, like his selenium and his chromium and his zinc, as well as magnesium and some good multivitamins. And within 3 weeks, this man, just from taking Diet Coke out of his diet, had dropped a total of over 42 pounds without altering his food intake. He was still eating tacos, he was still doing chicken burritos with lots of sour cream and things like that. He dropped this amount of weight simply because he was incredibly bloated from the Diet Coke. His blood sugar was deregulated, his pancreas was producing an enormous amount of insulin as a stimuli from the food, which leads us to understand that a food is seen either as a protein, a fat, or a carbohydrate, or a toxin to the body. So when a food comes in, whether it's a fake fat or a fake sugar product, the liver goes through its Rolodex or its memory bank and says, this looks more like most like a sugar molecule, or this looks most like a fat molecule. Given that, it will proceed to break the food down in that fashion. So when you take in a diet product or a low sugar item as labeled on a label. Like a Diet Coke has 0 calories, we must ask ourselves exactly where are the nutrients or the fuel from this food source coming from, and what kind of response do they elicit in the endocrine system as well as in the liver. So taking the Diet Coke out cleared up his hyperglycemia, because within 3 months his blood sugar was down into the normal ranges. His diabetes was completely under control because he was borderline diabetic when he came in, and his weight had come down over 50 pounds easily, and that was without exercise, just by attending to his dietary intake. Case study number 3, Marina. Marina came to me about 6 years ago. She still continues to see me upon occasion. I see her right now. She's back in for her tune-ups. But Marina was a perimenopausal woman 6 years ago. She's now in menopause, who had extensive nutritional deficiencies. She actually had a vitamin C deficiency, presenting as scurvy on her back. She had the ridges and the abrasions on her back that were extraordinarily dry. Her skin was essential fatty acid deficient. She was massively depressed, almost suicidal. Her liver function was suboptimal. Her hormones were going through their fluctuations and changes, and she was a chronic starvation dieter. This woman was eating approximately, again, 500 to 600 calories a day, would not touch fat. Took me years to get her to eat adequate quantities of essential fatty acids. But honestly, I'd say at this juncture, she is now beautiful, number one. Her skin looks like it's lost about 10 to 15 years. Her extraordinary essential fatty acid deficiency was caused by a lack of proteins in her diet. She would consume no meats, only beans and legumes. She was a Middle Eastern person. And she also refused to do fats and oils. She's very fat phobic, which is something you will see all the time, especially in women in your practice. So we started her slowly on a very low amount of essential fatty acid. It was a combination liquid oil that is an edible oil that provides the body with omega-3, omega-6, and omega-9 fatty acids. We started her on 2 teaspoons 3 times a day, using it cold, unheated, on her foods, just drizzling it on her rice or her potatoes or her vegetables or her proteins. She noticed a difference in her energy almost immediately. Within 2 weeks, she was starting to feel good, and we always ask our patients, how is your energy on a scale of 0 to 10? Her energy was a 1. Within 2 to 3 weeks, her energy had climbed up to about a 6 or a 7. Her bowels began to move regularly because essential fatty acids are instrumental in helping the small intestine work properly. And her depression started to lift. Aside from the fact that her energy improved, her depression was a major issue for her. And then what we found is if she started to bring protein into her diet, which she did, her energy even increased greatly within, I'd say, the next 2 to 3 weeks. And then we also brought in some supplementation, essential fatty acid and the B vitamin supplements. This woman in my practice was probably the most nutritionally deficit patient I have ever seen. 6 years later, she has completely lost all of her body fat. She's lean, she's trim, she's doing yoga. She no longer does cardio or weight-bearing exercises. She eats very well, and her attitude is great. Her dark circles under her eyes are completely gone. She's now 56 years old. So just missing one of those nutrient groups in the dietary intake on a daily basis for a long period of time can cause undue stressors on the body. Essential fatty acids are absolutely essential for women, especially for women. And it's important to know that each of your patients must have EFAs in their diet. So without that, they will not obtain and maintain optimal health. We have important concepts and conclusions to share with you today. First of all, it's important to know that the metabolism of carbohydrates provide quick energy, stored energy, glucose for detoxification via glucuronate, and important forms of tissue and structure when combined with amino acids, which are protein-based foods. Besides becoming part of structural tissue, amino acids build enzymes, globulins, and biologically active proteins and peptides, and they are required by several modes of detoxification. Minerals activate enzymes and provide electrical and ionic balance in tissues. They can also be involved in signal and transport processes, and several of them participate in the formation of structural tissue. Vitamins that become coenzymes must be metabolized well to do this. Lipids become steroids, hormones, eicosanoids, and electrical insulators for the creation of myelin in the body, and can be broken down into 2 carbon units and used for energy. Eating high sugar foods can raise insulin. Increased insulin stimulates the enzyme HMG, coenzyme A reductase, which leads to the formation of cholesterol in many people. Transformation of cholesterol into bile is rate limited into 7-alpha hydroxylase, a cytochrome P450 enzyme produced in the liver. Cholesterol to bile provides a major route for detoxification of xenobiotics and endogenous wastes. It's important to remember this. For a given individual, the adequate level of a specific nutrient is that level which prevents physiological imbalance in the metabolic pathway or process that is most dependent on and most sensitive to that particular nutrient. For a given individual, adequacy is not proven by finding blood and urine levels to be within established norms. These norms are really only guidelines to show probable deficiency or excess. So, to conclude this presentation, let us say this. Appropriate nutrition therapy and interventions such as the use of specific nutrition services is necessary to create awareness. This helps to offset the development of chronic illnesses, injury, or health conditions. It can also help many people with diseases and conditions recover more quickly and saves millions of dollars a year in the process. A recent compilation of case studies on medical nutrition therapy revealed that for every dollar invested in nutrition therapy results in $6 saved in medical expenditures. As you can see, your focus on nutrition therapy can be a critical component in providing a major contribution to all concerned. So, it is important to focus on multiple aspects of your patient's healing process. One must look closely at diet, lifestyle, and stressors. In this series, it is our goal to bring tools and information to improve the quality of life for you and for your patients. As you can see, it is very important to perform at least some level of analyses on your patient's diet, lifestyle, as well as stressors. One of the best ways to assist you here is by using the JAG Group's NutriPlus product. This software tool enables you to provide important information and a valuable service. Through NutriPlus, you can analyze food intake for quantity as well as quality and provide detailed reports that help your patients manage their diet more effectively. If you aren't aware of this product, I would encourage you to speak to your account representative about how it can help your practice.